Thank you, gentlemen. Actually, I think that touched on two areas there that I think are going to present challenges to resorts, particularly all-inclusive resorts, which is the desire for authentic local experiences that increasingly consumers are asking for, and also the need to connect with local communities, that whole thing about sustainability, and to make sure they're still part of the game. Let's go to another interesting area which has become up for debate, and that is the so-called death of business, international business tourism. Is that true? What about Bleisure, Staycations? All of these challenges, which we hope will turn into opportunities. And here to tell us about that and to chair this session is Theo Bortoluzzi. Am I saying that correctly? Very good. Who is the Business Development Manager in Europe for Kerten Hospitality. You're currently heading the company's development in Europe and overlooking the global development team. And you've been instrumental in the growth of the group's pipeline and the development and the business development task force in the organization. Take it away, Theo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I was lying. I was not with IHG. Actually, we have James Britchford, which is with us. He's the Vice President Commercial in India, Middle East, and Africa for IHG Hotels and Resorts. Thank you for joining us. So, yes, as anticipated, we're talking about new trends. We have Bleisure, Staycations, and what has been called the death of the international business travel. I just want to start with one engagement question at the beginning. So, after this event here in the beautiful landscape of Taghazout Bay, I would like to know if any of you is going to stay for the weekend and enjoy a little bit the area around. May I ask you to raise hands if someone is staying? Yeah, I'm quite sure. I think there are even more because half of the people I was speaking to today, they said, we're staying. So you are Bleisure travelers. Now, just going a little bit back to the challenge. So we're starting by saying death of international business travel. James, do you think this is something really happening?
Well, I think it was, good afternoon everyone, I think it was an excellent headline, so I'm not sure if Rajan had that in the BBC, but I certainly hope not. No, absolutely not. What we're seeing is a return of business travel, and if you look at it globally, in the US, in the UK, in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in many markets dotted around the world, business travel is very close to 2019 levels, which is remarkable. Clearly at IHG, we have a very significant global sales footprint. So we have many salespeople dotted around the world managing thousands of corporate clients. And clearly, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had to keep our relationships close to make sure that we are maximizing market share on what was a pot that was shrinking, because clearly business travel took a huge hit. There's no doubt about it. But working closely with our corporate customers, the sentiment is a bit more positive for it to return. When you look closer to Africa, Africa has been a market that's taken a little longer to recover. At the moment, for IHG, maybe 15-20% of our business is business travel. But with that said, in the last quarter, we're already seeing quite a quick ramp up. And if you look at trends and look at customer sentiment, we're hoping we'll be back at about 50% by 2023, so by next year.
Okay, great to hear. And actually, I was thinking the same. Death of international business travel doesn't really seem something that's going to happen. However, there are some new trends that are definitely growing, especially after the pandemic, and those are definitely Bleisure staycations. So people that go on business travel, they extend their stays for leisure, they invite their families, and they continue their journeys. And here I would like to just get a little bit of insight about you, how IHG is tackling this new trend, this new type and segment of travelers, and how do you see this growing in the future?
Well, I think Bleisure's here to stay. I watched the arms go in the air, and who said that they were, adding a holiday onto their trip. Certainly, from what I've heard about Morocco and what I've seen of Agadir, I wish I'd done that as well. What you're seeing is through the pandemic, clearly there was a lot of activity around staycations, we had workcations, we had gymcations where you could even bolt on certain spa treatments or training programs. We even had a playcation in one of our holiday inns where we were attracting families into the hotels. We partnered with Toys R Us. We put a load of toys in one room so the kids could enjoy themselves and everyone could have a great time in the hotel. So there was a lot of creativity in terms of what we were doing to attract customers. I believe with the playcation we even had people requesting Lego and they weren't children. So we really had to think creatively around how did we attract people into the hotel. And it worked incredibly successfully, there's no question of that. With IHG through our channels, we also have the functionality that allow our hotels to promote certain packages locally. We call it a limited time feature, but they can actually go in, package an offer, and then post it on our global channels, and then it's accessible to all customers. And we found that that was absolutely invaluable, where you had the kind of global power of what the brand was doing, but you had the agility locally to package things to attract that staycation business.
Okay. And in terms of brands, do you see any of IHG brands adapting more into this new trend? Is it something you can differentiate between the branding? Some, of course, will remain more as a business-oriented brands. But then, of course, when you talk about Bleisure, you have guests that come for business, but then they need to stay for leisure. They need different facilities. They need different places where they can have some leisure time in their stay. What do you think about differentiation in terms of brands? And also, what do you think about what type of facilities would you need to actually be relevant for business travelers and leisure travelers and be able to mix them?
Well, in terms of brands, historically you thought of staycations or vacations and you'd immediately think of our resort brands and our vacation brands. What's happened now is that you're seeing, particularly with business travel or indeed people that are looking for city breaks, you're seeing a lot more business across all of our brands. So historically those traditional corporate business hotels that were full Tuesday, Wednesday, suddenly have got much better occupancies on the Friday and Saturday nights. And it's been very important to broaden the marketing of our brands, but also broaden the services that are available. So, for example, some of us went for a run this morning, which was great fun, although Sean, my colleague, I won't forgive him, he left me hanging. But what you're seeing is that there are guests now that want those services available not just in a resort hotel, but also in a city centre hotel, whether it's a Holiday Inn, a Crown Plaza, or a Holiday Inn Express.
So we're talking about experiences, activity-led hotels. And talking about this leads me directly into this new segment which is growing, and it's the one of lifestyle hotels. And having read some researches online, actually, even before this panel, it clearly says that especially also the young generation is the one which is more willing to actually get into Bleisure or staycations. They can work remotely, they will go to a location, they stay, they work, and then they will have fun. Lifestyle is becoming more and more, again, a thing and relevant. How are you tackling this at IHG, and do you see further growth for lifestyle properties?
Without question, there's huge appetite for lifestyle brands. At IHG, we've got 17 brands, but when you look at our recent brand acquisitions in the last 5 or 6 years, we acquired Kerten, which is arguably one of the most famous lifestyle brands in America. And that's now being rolled internationally. It's in Europe, it's in Southeast Asia. We'd love to debut it in the Middle East or indeed in Africa. You also have our boutique brand, which is Hotel Indigo, that is gathering a huge amount of interest. And we've opened the first Hotel Indigo in the Middle East, in Dubai, in the last couple of years. We have recently signed 4 Hotel Indigos for Egypt in Africa. And there's real appetite for a brand that is that lifestyle segment, and IHG have kind of consciously looked at how do we make sure that we don't have 30, 35 brands, we still have a tight set of 17 brands, but we have a brand depending on the segment that you're trying to attract. And certainly, not just lifestyle, but luxury as well is very important. So one of our most recent acquisitions is Six Senses. And Six Senses has had huge interest. You know, if you think of the African continent and what you could do with the Six Senses brand that's famous for high-end luxury, exclusivity mixed with wellness. We have recently announced Six Senses in Victoria Falls, and we have another 3 in the pipe as well.
Do you see pleasure travelers going into a Six Senses as an experience? Do you see this becoming a possibility?
Never say never.
Of course, at definitely high-end.
It would be a smaller amount. You know, the Bleisure coin is really for those core brands where those hotels were corporate hotels. Because of proximity, they're very central in the city centre. Six Senses lends itself obviously to more pure leisure.
Okay.
But, you know, never say never.
You never know.
Maybe a high-end CEO that can base himself anywhere in the world would like to, you know, be in our Six Senses in the Seychelles and base himself there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad place to work from. Just leading to a different topic here, always into the Bleisure. When we talk about facilities, we understand that for Bleisure travelers, we need different mix of facilities that allow for business occasions as well as leisure and activities. Do you think that mixed use is something that can tackle this segment and this group quite well?
Absolutely. I mean, there was a great session earlier today on mixed-use developments, and the key on mixed-use developments is doing that feasibility study at the start to really understand, okay, is there demand for creating a destination where you're not just working, you're living and you're playing there as well. But we've had experience in running mixed-use developments in the region. We've got them in the UAE, in Doha. And again, another announcement in Egypt, we recently announced the Intercontinental in New Cairo that will not only be a hotel, but be residences as well. And there's a lot of conversations on mixed use as well. And mirroring what a panelist this morning said, you know, if you can have an asset that has a broader appeal, that mixed use I can only see ramping up in terms of interest.
Exactly. And I also got very interested on the panel today, especially when Hala, she mentioned that, well, mixed use, we have a lot of mixed use developments going on and they're present. Real estate mixed use is well developed, is existing. But then when we talk about mixed use from an operational point of view, so from the brands and from the company which is actually operating it, it's still developing. You don't have that many examples of groups that take over the entire project and they really create a destination. So probably when we will be able to actually find and cover that gap, that will also be something relevant for Bleisure travelers, which will have.
It will, and you know, two areas that I haven't touched. One is technology. You know, clearly COVID reinvented how we can do many things with technology, and we haven't stood still on technology. So we've partnered with Amadeus on quite a significant investment because we're a hospitality company, not a technology company. And we're overhauling our websites to make sure that we have the ability to allow our guests, when they go online, to really choose what's important to them. We call it attribute pricing, but what does that mean? That means that our customers, when they go online, can choose their room, but then the next stage, they can actually go in and start going, well, actually, I'd like a higher floor, or I'd like a balcony looking at the sea. Benefit to the guest is that they're really tailor-making their stay, whether they're on leisure or whether they're on business. And of course, the benefit to our owners is that you're commercializing every corner, every aspect of a property's unique features. So that's one piece. The second piece that has been a significant investment for IHG is the relaunch of our loyalty program with IHG One Rewards. IHG were the very first hotel company that launched a loyalty program back in 1983. I'm not sure if you're alive, Theo.
Not really. I
but-
still missed 6-7 years, actually.
But probably I was playing Lego at that stage. But what we've done with the loyalty program is not only made it easier for our guests and our members to earn points faster, but we've also broadened what they can do with the program in terms of the benefits. Because we recognize if you're going for business or leisure or bleisure, as we're talking about it, there's different aspects that you want to use your points to redeem. So there's been a huge amount of investment by us to really make sure that both our technology platforms and our loyalty platforms are fit for purpose.
Okay, perfect. Great. Thank you very much, James. We have 30 seconds left. I don't know if there's any question from the public with regards to the theme.
Yes? Oh, no. Just put your finger at the ear. That's all.
It's a fake one. No? Then
I think
we're
that's
done.
it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And let's hop into this Bleisure journey. Thank you.